Hi everyone, my name is HudatQueen94. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a huge New Orleans Saints fan, as well as being a huge fan of the NFL. And I'm filming once again at night, which means that I'm back in my hometown, if it really truly matters. It's actually a really nice night. It was actually a really nice day. I think it was about 68 or 69, so that's kind of typical for the desert. But it's a relatively nice night out here. You may hear some planes, you may hear some firecrackers, but nonetheless, that's just what happens when you film outside. But either way, week 17 has come and gone, which means that only one game remains for the majority of teams if your team didn't make the playoffs, and that is true for the New Orleans Saints. And we'll talk about the Saints right now, but I want to take this time to say this. My heart and my thoughts are with Damar Hamlin in his recovery. My heart is with his family, his mother, and the Buffalo Bills and Bengals players who witnessed that tragedy unfold on the field. And what happened on Monday night was one of the most horrific things that I think anybody's ever seen on an NFL field. I mean, of course it has been. There have been NFL fans who have been watching the game for several years, if not decades, and they can attest to that being the most horrific thing one could possibly imagine. And I kind of hate that they keep replaying it, and I know that he's recovering now, but it's one of those things that literally is going to stick in your head or in your mind for many years to come. So listen, we've seen players get injured, carted off the field, taken by ambulance. It wasn't too long ago when Tua was taken by a stretcher. So, but this one had a different feel to it. You just knew based on the way that the players were reacting, the way that they were crying. The fact that the ambulance was still on the field, that for me is how I knew it was pretty bad, because normally these players, if they are taken by ambulance, they're normally gone within a couple of minutes, but this was taking a long time. And so, minutes go by and he's still, lying on the ground, and you don't know what's happening, and then the grim details come out that he needed CPR for 9 minutes or so, and that he suffered a cardiac arrest. I don't think that was known at that time, but eventually, we all found out that that's what had happened. So that was a very scary situation, I think, for anybody, right? And because you don't know exactly what's going on, so but your heart breaks every minute that goes by. But I think that's kind of what kind of unifies us as, like, not just fans of different teams, but like as an NFL fan base. We all have our different teams, and some of us are rivals, but I think we all wish for the health and safety of these NFL players. So I gotta say, I give credit to the medical personnel who were on the scene doing what was necessary to give him a fighting chance. And credit to Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott to come together and essentially call this game and call their teams to the locker room. It was the right decision by two coaches, and obviously the most important thing there was the well-being of Damar, so as he is in the recovery process. It's situations like that where everything is truly tested. So you've seen the very best in people, those who have donated to his charities, doing what they can to support him, doing the vigils, praying for him, whatever you truly believe in. But you also see the worst in people. And I just have to say this, and I hate to bring this up, but I feel like those people who use this as like a political agenda, or use this situation to push their political agenda, those have to be some of the lowest people I think that you could ever possibly imagine, because you took an opportunity of somebody who was fighting for their life just to push some sort of narrative. This is why I'm not really into politics. I'm not into these radical groups, because it takes away your ability to actually think rationally. So if you took this opportunity to just spew your, I guess, propaganda, I think that makes you a pretty sick person. But that's just my opinion, and the thing of it is that we saw what happened. We know it was a freak accident, and I know that T. Higgins feels horrible about it. I can imagine he would, right? So it was just a bad situation, wrong place, wrong time. It was a freak accident, and again, so happy to hear that Damar is, recovering, that he's fully awake, that he was able to communicate, and now, again, FaceTime with his team. So, good news, it's going to be somewhat of a process, I can imagine. Well, I may know from experience, but nonetheless, it's going to be a process, but the fact that he's starting to recover and the fact that he's starting to talk is just wonderful, wonderful news. But, we do have a game to talk about too, actually, and I don't want to drag this on. I'm just saying that my thoughts are with Damar right now in his recovery process. That being said, let's go ahead and let's dive into this video. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the Saints at the Eagles. Okay, so in the first quarter, Saints get the ball to start. Saints move downfield and get into field goal range. An ineligible man puts the Saints at 2nd and 11 at 8:15. At 7:21, Hill is stopped short of the first. Saints go for it on 4th and 2 and convert with Hill for 8 yards to make it 1st and goal at the 1. Taysom Hill gets a 1-yard touchdown with 6:02. Saints force an Eagles 3 and out at 3:54. Dalton is sacked with 5 seconds left. Saints lead Eagles 7-0 to end the first quarter. Second quarter, Dalton is sacked once again at 14-11. Saints are forced to punt. Saints get to Minshew and force another 3 and out for the Eagles at 11:40. Taysom throws to Juwan for 17 yards to get to midfield. Saints send Lutz to attempt a 54-yarder, and Lutz knocks it through with 8:30 to make it a 10-3 game. Granderson gets a sack on Minshew for a big loss. For a big loss, and forces another 3 and out for the Eagles at 7-11. Dalton throws to Shaheed for 59 yards to make it 1st and goal. Lutz kicks a 20-yarder. Lutz kicks a 20-yard field goal to make it a 13-0 game. It was a 10-0 game. My bad. But either way, at 3:05. Saints force yet another 3 and out for the Eagles at 2:16. Dalton throws an interception with 34 seconds left, and it's returned for 13 yards by Josiah Scott. Saints sack Minshew at 26 seconds on 1st and 10. Minshew throws to Goddard to pick up the first with 12 seconds left. Minshew throws to Devontae Smith, who picks up 25 yards to end the half. Saints lead Eagles 13-0. Yeah, I know. Eagles did not put up points in the first half. My mistake on that. Third quarter. Eagles get the ball to start. Sanders picks up a run of 14 yards. Minshew throws to Goddard for a pickup of 18 to get to midfield at 13:49. Gainwell gets a 28-yard touchdown, but it's brought back due to offensive holding. Jake Elliott kicks a 56-yarder to make it a 13-3 game with 10:58 left to go. Eagles get back-to-back false starts at 6:42, giving them a 3rd and long. Minshew throws to Smith, who picks up the first for 12 yards. Eagles get another false start, forcing them to punt. Dalton gets sacked by Cox with 3:08, putting the Saints at 3rd and 20. Eagles get the ball back. Minshew throws to A.J. Brown for a 72-yard touchdown with 45 seconds left to make it a 13-10 game. Saints lead Eagles 13-10. Fourth quarter. Dalton is sacked to start the fourth. Minshew throws to Goddard for 15 yards with 13:34. Eagles are forced to punt at 12:16. Dalton gets sacked once again with 10:47 left to go for a loss of 8. Eagles get the ball and turn it over on downs at midfield with 8:26. Saints fail to take advantage. Saints fail to take advantage and punt. Lattimore gets a pick 6 off Minshew with 5:27 to make it a 20-10 game. Minshew throws to A.J. Brown at midfield for 28 yards. Minshew fumbles the snap, recovers, and is sacked at 4:39. Eagles go for it on 4th and 22 and turn it over on downs. Saints run a series of run plays and force the Eagles to burn their timeouts. Kamara picks up the first down of 4 yards at the 2-minute warning. Saints beat Eagles 20-10. Okay. So, not to sound overconfident, but I really, really, really wish that I had uploaded the video that I made last week so much sooner than when I actually got an opportunity to upload it, because I was somewhat right in my thoughts. And, I said if the Saints did what they needed to do, then they had a really great chance of pulling off the upset and winning this game, which is what they did. Now, it may not have happened exactly as I said it was going to happen, but the fact that I actually had faith in the Saints just says a lot. So, that's just the thing about the Saints. They're so weird, and I've said this all season, they're super unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get with this team. How can they beat the number one team in the NFL, in my honest opinion, record-wise, and then lose to teams like the Cardinals and the Steelers? And I'm not going to get over it. Now, I know that the Steelers have gotten progressively better, but I feel like at the time when we had to play them, they weren't as good. So it seemed like a slam dunk one for me. But either way, so how did the Saints pull off 3 straight wins? Well, let's break it down. So offensively, the Saints got off to a fast and hot start. Andy Dalton was rolling. He didn't have an incompletion until his interception, which it was entirely on him. He knew it. He had Johnson underneath, and yet he decided to go to Olave for the big play. I guess it was underthrown. He was aggressive, and he overthrew it. See, that kind of seems to be the theme with Andy Dalton. He seems to get on this really hot roll, on this hot streak, and then he somewhat loses his confidence, if he throws an interception or he's sacked. Very somewhat inconsistent, I would say. It's like he loses his confidence. But either way, because he can get into those rhythms where he's on point, and, it's completion. So, that's just one of those things with Andy Dalton. But either way, he still didn't have bad numbers, 4 incompletions, 204 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. I should say very average numbers is what I should say. As I said, when Andy's good, he can be very, very good. But when he's bad, he can be pretty bad. I'd say this was not his best performance. But too many sacks. And, credit to the Eagles' pass rush, because they seemed to sort of come alive, and they were sort of blitzing, and they were getting to the quarterback, probably I'd say in the second quarter. So credit to them on that, because they did also go after Taysom a few times as well. Taysom took a few sacks in this game. So, speaking of which, I have to say that DA and Pete finally, this late in the season, know how to use Taysom. So, and they found a use for Kamara. They weren't finding uses for Kamara because he wasn't running it well. It's a little too late, but nonetheless, I'm still going to rave about Taysom because that's my guy. I absolutely love Taysom Hill. So, this guy has gotten so much better, not just this season, but throughout the years. So, he used to have a little bit of issues with fumbling, knock on wood, but he's done so much better this season when they've used him properly. So, this is the second consecutive game where he's sort of bailed us out. And I mentioned that it would be pretty tough to run on the Eagles, but you never know what you're going to get with, Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill working together. So, both these two combined had a total of 120 yards. Yeah, 120 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. But when you have an efficient run game, it stabilizes the offense. So, I thought that we did a really good job running it. As far as receiving goes, Rashid had, he led with 79 yards, followed by Juwan with 62 and Olave with 42. Not bad numbers overall. So the only criticism I really truly have on offense is the fact that Andy took those sacks. So when you take those sacks, it takes you out of positions to, be kind of in field goal range for Lutz. So, and there were a couple of situations where we were forced to punt because of those sacks. But and Andy has a problem with that. That seems to be a problem with Andy. So he's acknowledged this before. But either way, that's just really my only criticism on offense. Again, credit to the Eagles pass rush. But either way, and we did not have a lot of penalties. I should say that. As far as the defense goes, I thought that they did an outstanding job. with the exception of Adebo getting burned on that 72-yard touchdown. So Minshew was super inconsistent. He'd have a great throw here and an incompletion there. So the Eagles did a really good job of shooting themselves in the foot that we finally took advantage of that. So, we got a fair number of sacks as well, and congratulations to Cameron Jordan for becoming the Saints' all-time sack leader. He's been a GOAT for a very, very long time. I think I've been a fan a little bit longer than we've had Cameron Jordan, but, I know what he's capable of, and again, big shout out to him, big congratulations to Cameron Jordan. I just wanted to say that. We held Minshew to 274 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not terrible numbers on his end. So, that bomb touchdown did absolutely help. I said if we held Smith and Brown to under 100 yards, then we'd probably win this game. We did not do that in this game, as Smith had 115 yards and Brown had 97. But we still won regardless. So we did a good job of containing Sanders, who I was really, really concerned about, who led in rushing with 61 yards. So once again, we haven't allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back in consecutive games. So, and we did get the takeaway. Who else but Lattimore? I've been saying Lattimore's name because I've been hoping and praying that he'd, come back. And when he returns, he gets the pick 6 that saves the day for us. Because, the way that they were playing, it was close. We let them get it pretty close. So it was 13-10, I believe. So we really missed him. And, for 3 consecutive games, we've had a turnover. Do you see the difference now? The takeaway by Bradley Roby, Daniel Sorensen, and now, Marshawn Lattimore. I'm glad he's back. I know it wasn't for long, but either way, solid effort by the defense. Great job of getting sacks and forcing punts and getting the turnover. So, great win by the Saints to do the unexpected and go up and be 7-point underdogs and still win this game. I told you not to sleep on the Saints in this game, and look at what happened. Either way, I believe that the Eagles will clinch the NFC. I think that they'll go pretty far. I'm thinking this team's probably going to go to the NFC Championship. I can see them in the NFC Championship. I can see them with the Niners. But, they're not a team I particularly like, but I think there are teams in the NFC that I dislike more, and teams in general I dislike more, so indifferent. Best of luck to them moving forward. So, let's see if I can wrap this up. Panthers at Saints, the season finale. It is a shame that this game is only a consolation game, and, I think this game would have been great for, a kind of win-and-you're-in situation, so, but it still needs to be played, and we still need to win it, because, I don't know, record-wise, and it's nice to beat your rivals, right? So, Saints are 3-point favorites at home. So, how do we finish this off? Oh, it's starting to get really, really cold now. Well, this is definitely a different Panthers team than the one that we faced in Week 3. No Baker Mayfield, no McCaffrey, Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, Mark Ingram. And I vaguely remember this game, so I had to go back and sort of look at the highlights to see what we were dealing with. Again, it's like a different team. Either way, but they themselves have had sort of like a roller coaster season as well. So, if Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael's job is on the line, then they better do a really good job of calling this game. So, I know I've said this a lot. I just finished saying this, but the way that they've used Taysom, it's like it's like bingo, or bingo. There you go. Bingo. So, that has been, I think, a huge help for us, because earlier in the year we were using Taysom in like the first half of games, and we would abandon that in like the second half. So again, he's a tool, he's an asset, he's our Swiss Army knife, the jack of all trades, master of none. So I don't mean that disrespectfully. I actually like that quote. But either way, when you use Taysom and you use him in these different packages, and you use him in different formations and different ways you put him on the line, you know, it really, really does trick the defense. They don't know what they're going to get with Taysom. So the fact that he's come alive in these last few games and has bailed us out in the last two has been really, really huge for us. That's why we've been able to win these 2 games. But either way, it is interesting how we are using Taysom with Kamara. You know, a few years ago, it used to be Kamara and Ingram who were like the 2-headed dragon, right? Well, now it's sort of like Taysom and Kamara. Just not, you know, not exactly like that. But either way, that was a interesting time, I think. I think we were still 7-9 at that time, but either way, Panthers have an okay run defense, much better than ours, so it may or may not work what we've been doing. They have held individual backs to under 100 yards, but if we can try to get that run game going early, then, you know, maybe we might have some success in that. They do, however, give a lot of passing yards to receivers. So this game screams Shaheed, it screams Olave, it screams Johnson, you know. So we know that Dalton is going to finish the season. So, you know, it may not be everybody's choice, it may not be ideal, but that's just the way it's going to be. Dalton is going to finish the season, and this could very well be his last game in a Saints uniform. In fact, I would bank $2 on it because I'm greedy. So, but I would bank that this is probably his last game in a Saints uniform. So why not go off with a bang? You know, this could very well be his very, very best game if he doesn't take those sacks and doesn't turn it over. You know, he could easily have 200 plus yards against this defense if he does what he's supposed to do. Now, I know that's a bold saying, but it's the final week of the season, so go big or go home. So, on the flip side, Sam Darnold has been getting hot these last couple of weeks. 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. So he's not much of a runner, but if he needs to, he can, from what I was noticing. Getting to him, putting pressure on him, forcing a turnover and a sack is key, and the Saints have the guy to clearly do that. Despite not having McCaffrey, they have really, really great backs that they've been relying on, which is Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, whose name sounds like bubblegum. It makes me want to chew some bubblegum. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it sounds like bubblegum. It's an interesting name. I do like the name, actually. But they are capable of having 100 plus yards per game, and combined, that could be pretty bad for a run defense because they can have monster performances. So our run D needs to step up in this game. Same for passing with DJ Moore, who has been stellar for them, but it was Laviska Shenault who made the play of the game last time. So I'm sure that we'll have a game plan for both of these guys coming in. Again, so glad that Marshawn Lattimore is back. And this might be the game where Taylor actually gets his interception. So wouldn't that be really, really great? But this game has the makings of being a potential shootout. You know, those games where 2 bad teams play each other, and it tends to be, you know, in like the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. This could be that game. Now, it's a bold prediction on my end, but I don't know. This has the makings of that, like, sort of like college level. Well, I'm not saying college level, but you know how some college games go into like the 50s and 60s and even 70s. Not that that's going to happen in this game, but, you know, I'm saying this could be a shootout. You know, we could have 20, 30 points. But that's my bold prediction of the game. But either way, I think that is all I have to say. I do not want to waste any more of your time. So once again, my name is HudatQueen94. I'm also under the name Olave Saint Savior on my Twitter account. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, that's okay, no worries. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd much appreciate it. But either way, thank you so much for watching. So yeah, go Saints. Hudat, baby. Okay, also, once again, prayers to Damar. We're still, you know, pulling for him, sending all my love to him in a speedy recovery. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, go Saints. Okay, bye-bye.